Hey, what's up, everybody? So, baseball is set to announce the winners of the major awards this week, and I decided I'll give my input and say who I think is going to win. All right, first we got AL Rookie of the Year. The finalists are Carlos Carrera, Francisco Lindor, and Miguel Sano. All three were obviously the best rookies in the league in the AL, but I think Carlos Carrera was just better than the rest. Statistically, offensively, and defensively, I think he did better than Lindor and Sano, and I think he should win it, and he's very deserving. Next, we got NL Rookie of the Year. We got Chris Bryant, Matt Duffy, and Jung Ho Kung. I am personally surprised of the other two finalists. I thought there were other people that were also deserving as well. You could have had five finalists for the NL Rookie of the Year, adding Noah Syndergaard and Jock Peterson. But I think no matter who the finalists were going to be, the winner was going to be Chris Bryant unanimously. He just had an incredible season, 26 home runs, over 100 RBIs. He led rookies pretty much every offensive statistic. Next, we got AL Manager of the Year. The finalists are Jeff Bannister of the Texas Rangers, AJ Hinch of the Houston Astros, and Paul Molitor of the Minnesota Twins. They all really turned their teams around this year from really teams that had no chance of playoffs and teams into in contention. Jeff Bannister turned his team around mid-season, which I think he will win because of that. They were in like third or fourth place by the All-Star break and really just turned it around, had a 21 game turnaround, and won the division over the Houston Astros, who were winning the division most of the season. Uh, Paul Molitor also had a great season as the manager, bringing his team into contention up until the very last day. And AJ Hinch also really just turned the Astros around, a team for the last like decade who were just a laughing stock of baseball, and then just making it to the playoffs, winning the wild card round, and giving the Royals a run for their money. But I just think Jeff Bannister just did better, really winning the division, going to the NLDS, going 5 games against the Toronto Blue Jays, and he will probably win. Next, we got NL Manager of the Year. We got Mike Matheny, Joe Maddon, and Terry Collins. All three very deserving, really doing well for their teams. Mike Matheny, through injuries with all stars like Adam Wainwright and Matt Holliday getting hurt at some points, and everyone was hurt, it seemed like, at one point, and still bringing that team to 100 wins was very impressive. Next, we got Terry Collins of the Mets, who always have not been in contention for the last few years, and this year, when they had one of the worst offenses of the year, up until the trade deadline, but keeping the team together, making sure they didn't collapse and really melt down, just turning the team around as soon as they got a great offensive player in Yoenis Cespedes, and bring the team to the top of the NL East, going to the World Series. But I think the last Joe Maddon will win it. He just really turned the Cubs around, a team who's been the laughing stock for years and years, and proving that this team is here to play and will be in the running for the World Series for the next 5 to 10 years. Next, we got Cy Youngs, the AL Cy Young finalists, Sonny Gray, Dallas Keuchel, and David Price. I think Dallas Keuchel will win it. I think it'll be close between him and David Price. David Price had an incredible year. Sonny Gray also did very well, but kind of under the radar, and I don't think he did as well as either David Price or Dallas Keuchel. I think David Price had one of his best seasons for over the last couple of years. I think he had the lowest ERA in his career with about 250, maybe less. But Dallas Keuchel just carried his team through the season, the ace the entire year, starting in the All-Star game and then starting in the wild card game for a win, and then really just, like I said, with Carlos Carrera and AJ Hinch with the Astros, really like showing the not the Toronto Blue Jays, the Kansas City Royals, that they mean business and they will be here for a long time. And I think he proved that he will win. Last of the Cy Youngs is for the NL is Kershaw, Greinke, and Arrieta. They all had incredible years, each well deserving of the MVP. They were 215 ERA or under. Kershaw's was 215, I believe. Arrieta had a 177, and Greinke had a 166. These guys would win it any other year, but they all had to be amazing in the same year. They were the top three, besides for the ERA, also I believe in WHIP and strikeouts per 9 innings. A lot of people saying Arrieta's going to win. I think Greinke's going to win. I just think he had a better season from start to finish. He was sub-2 ERA since the very beginning. Arrieta didn't become sub-2 ERA till about September, and I just think Greinke just was dominant all year round. Last, we got the MVPs. AL MVP finalists are Donaldson, of the Blue Jays, Mike Trout of the Angels, and Lorenzo Cain of the Kansas City Royals. They all were great players, really the best players on their teams. I just think Josh Donaldson carried his team more than the other two. Lorenzo Cain was the best player on the best team in the league, but he had other players around him, other all-stars. Mike Trout also did very well, really trying to bring his team to the playoffs. But I just think Donaldson offensively did better. He also was great defensively, had some great plays, jumping into the stands, diving plays. And he also had, I believe, 41 home runs and 123 RBIs. If that's not MVP, I don't know what is. Last is the NL MVP finalists: Paul Goldschmidt of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Bryce Harper of the Nationals, and Joey Votto of the Cincinnati Reds. This, I believe, is the first time in decades since all three finalists are non-playoff teams. I personally believe the MVP should be a player that brought his team to the playoffs, like carried them on his back even. And if that was true, then I believe the finalists maybe should have had Andrew McCutchen, who always carries his team, maybe even Yoenis Cespedes, even though he only played about 50, 60 games with the New York Mets. He literally brought the team from the worst offense to the best and bringing them to the World Series. Had a stretch of a month where he had 15 home runs in like 30 games. But he's not a finalist, and I believe Bryce Harper will probably be the finalist. He did his best to carry his team to the playoffs. He was a little short in the end, but I think he just had an amazing season, over 40 home runs, over 100 RBIs, and was probably the best player in the league in the NL in the end. All right. That's who I think are going to win the awards, and let's find out during the week if I'm right. Have a good one, guys.